Opening your front door and seeing another kind of human walking down your street. They look almost like us. They laugh. They hunt. They build fires. They take care of their families. But they aren't Homo sapiens. They're another human species. It sounds like science fiction. But for most of human history, this was reality. Today, only one human species remains alive. Us. Homo sapiens. But rewind the clock 40,000 years. And Earth looked very different. Back then, we weren't alone. At least 3 different human species shared this planet. Our ancestors. The powerful Neanderthals. And the mysterious Denisovans. For thousands of years, these humans walked the same forests, crossed the same rivers, and looked at the very same stars. Think about that. If you traveled back in time, you wouldn't just meet ancient humans. You'd meet other humans. Some were shorter. Some were stronger. Some were built to survive freezing Ice Age winters. And surprisingly, many scientists believe some of them were physically stronger than us. Take the Neanderthals. If one challenged you to an arm wrestling contest, let's just say, you'd probably lose before realizing the contest had started. Their bones were thicker. Their muscles were larger. Their bodies were built like professional athletes. Except, they didn't need a gym membership. Their everyday life was the workout. Hunting giant animals. Carrying heavy prey. Surviving brutal winters. Every single day. Then there were the Denisovans. For decades, nobody even knew they existed. Scientists discovered them from a tiny finger bone, found inside a cave in Siberia. Imagine becoming famous because someone found one of your fingers. 40,000 years later. Not exactly the retirement plan anyone dreams of. Yet from that tiny fossil, scientists discovered an entirely different human species. Even more surprising, many people alive today still carry Denisovan DNA. Especially populations living in Tibet and parts of Southeast Asia. Their ancient genes help modern humans survive in places with very little oxygen. Which means, a small part of these forgotten humans still lives inside millions of people today. And then, there was us. Homo sapiens. Compared to Neanderthals, we weren't the strongest. Compared to some other human species, we weren't always the toughest either. So why are we the only ones left? That question has puzzled scientists for generations. Was it war? Disease? Climate change? Or was there something unique about Homo sapiens that changed history forever? The answer is far more surprising than most people imagine. Because these ancient humans weren't simply our enemies. In fact, they became part of our family. Literally. Scientists have discovered that humans and Neanderthals had children together. The same happened with Denisovans. Which means, if your ancestors lived in Europe or Asia, there's a good chance a tiny piece of another human species still exists inside your DNA today. It's strange to think about. The last Neanderthal disappeared tens of thousands of years ago. Yet a small part of them may still be traveling through your body right now. History often tells us that only the strongest survive. But that's not always true. Because if strength alone decided survival, Neanderthals might still be here today. So, what really happened? Why did every other human species vanish, while Homo sapiens inherited the Earth? The answer begins with a meeting between different humans that would change history forever. Earth wasn't ruled by just one kind of human. It was shared. Homo sapiens, Neanderthals, and Denisovans. For thousands of years, their worlds overlapped. They hunted in the same forests, followed the same rivers, and searched for the same food. Sooner or later, they were bound to meet. But what happened when they did? Did they immediately become enemies? Did they fight brutal wars for survival? Hollywood certainly likes that idea. But reality was far more complicated. Scientists now believe these different human species didn't spend every moment trying to kill each other. Sometimes they traded. Sometimes they learned from one another. And sometimes they even fell in love. Yes, your ancient family tree may be much more interesting than you think. When researchers decoded the Neanderthal genome, they discovered something astonishing. Most people outside Africa still carry between 1 and 2% Neanderthal DNA. That means, at some point, our ancestors didn't just meet Neanderthals. They had children together. The same is true for Denisovans. Today, millions of people carry Denisovan genes, especially in parts of Asia and Oceania. Some of those ancient genes help people survive in high mountains, where oxygen levels are extremely low. In other words, a tiny piece of these ancient humans is still helping people survive today. It's strange to think about. The last Neanderthal disappeared thousands of years ago. Yet every time scientists study our DNA, they find another reminder that they never completely vanished. But if these human species lived together, why did only Homo sapiens survive? Many people assume it was because we were stronger. Actually, we weren't. Neanderthals were stronger. Their muscles were larger. Their bones were thicker. Their bodies were perfectly built for surviving the Ice Age. If one of them challenged you to carry a mammoth, you'd probably volunteer to supervise instead. So, strength wasn't the answer. Perhaps intelligence? Surprisingly, Neanderthals had brains that were just as large, sometimes even larger, than modern humans. So it wasn't simply about brain size either. The real difference may have been something much less obvious: cooperation. Homo sapiens formed larger social groups. They shared information between different communities. If one group discovered a better hunting technique, the knowledge spread. If someone invented a better spear, others copied it. Ideas traveled. Innovation accelerated. Neanderthals also cared for one another. Archaeologists have found evidence that they looked after injured members of their communities. But Homo sapiens seemed to build much larger networks. Almost like having access to the world's first social media. Except, without annoying advertisements every 30 seconds. Those connections changed everything. Knowledge no longer disappeared when one person died. It survived. It spread. It improved. Generation after generation. Better tools. Better communication. Better planning. Little advantages. that slowly became enormous ones. And then, the climate changed. The Ice Age became less predictable. Forests replaced open grasslands. Animals moved. Food became harder to find. The world that Neanderthals had mastered was disappearing. Homo sapiens adapted. They explored new environments, changed hunting strategies, created new tools, and gradually expanded across the planet. It wasn't one single battle that decided history. It was thousands of tiny advantages, building up over thousands of years. Eventually, the number of Neanderthals became smaller. The Denisovans disappeared from history. And Homo sapiens remained. Not because we were the strongest, but because we were remarkably adaptable. Yet, one final mystery remains. If every other human species disappeared, why do their genes still live inside us today? The answer may completely change the way you think about what it means to be human. Scientists believed Neanderthals had simply disappeared, gone forever. Another branch of humanity, lost to history. But in 2010, everything changed. Scientists successfully decoded the Neanderthal genome. What they discovered shocked the world. Neanderthals weren't completely gone. They were still here, inside us. If your ancestors came from Europe or Asia, there's a good chance you carry Neanderthal DNA. Right now, inside every cell of your body. In fact, some of those ancient genes still affect us today. They influence our immune system, our skin, our hair, even the way some people respond to certain diseases. The same is true for Denisovans. Their DNA helps millions of people survive at extremely high altitudes. Without those ancient genes, life in places like the Tibetan Plateau would be far more difficult. Think about that. Thousands of generations have passed. Empires have risen and fallen. Civilizations have changed the world. Yet tiny pieces of those ancient humans continue living inside modern people. Perhaps they never truly disappeared. Perhaps they simply became part of us. But this discovery raises another question. If Neanderthals were so successful, why didn't they survive as a separate species? Scientists still debate the answer. Some believe climate change pushed them toward extinction. Others think shrinking populations made survival impossible. Disease may have played a role. Competition for food may have made life even harder. And because Homo sapiens and Neanderthals had children together, some researchers believe the Neanderthals weren't completely replaced. Instead, they were slowly absorbed into the growing Homo sapiens population. History isn't always about one side defeating another. Sometimes, history is about becoming one. It's a fascinating thought. Every time you look in the mirror, you may be seeing more than just Homo sapiens. You're looking at the result of hundreds of thousands of years of evolution. A story written by many different human species. Not just one. We often imagine history as a straight line. But it was never that simple. It was a tangled path filled with encounters, choices, challenges, and incredible moments of survival. And perhaps the greatest lesson isn't that Homo sapiens were the strongest. Because we weren't. It isn't that we were the smartest. That's still debated. Maybe our greatest strength was something much simpler. The ability to adapt, to work together, to share ideas, to learn from one another. Those small advantages changed the course of history forever. And here's one final thought. If another human species had survived alongside us until today, how different would our world look? Would we live together peacefully? Would we compete? Would we learn from each other? Or would history repeat itself? We'll probably never know. But one thing is certain. The story of humanity is far stranger, far more complicated, and far more incredible than most of us ever imagined. If you enjoyed this journey into humanity's forgotten past, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to Beyond Discovery. Turn on the notification bell so you'll be the first to watch every new documentary exploring the greatest mysteries of our world and beyond. Thank you for watching. Stay curious, keep exploring, and I'll see you in the next adventure.